Just when I thought my story had finally settled into peace, life proved something I would learn again and again. Sometimes the biggest twists come after the happy ending. 6 months passed. My position at the training center flourished. Students respected me. Management trusted me. For the first time in my life, I had savings. Actual savings. Money with my name attached to it. Every month, I carefully set aside a portion of my salary. Part of it went toward helping Papa B with medical expenses. Part went into a small savings account. And part remained untouched. A fund for a dream I had not shared with anyone. Not yet. One afternoon, the center director called me into his office. The request seemed ordinary. But the moment I entered, I sensed something unusual. The director smiled. "Please sit down." I obeyed. Across from him sat a well-dressed woman I had never seen before. She appeared to be in her 50s. Elegant. Confident. The kind of person who carried authority without speaking. The director introduced us. "This is Mrs. Okafor." The woman extended her hand. I shook it politely. Then she said something unexpected. "I've heard a lot about you." I smiled nervously. "Only good things, I hope." She laughed. "Very good things." For the next 30 minutes, she asked questions about my work. My background. My goals. My experiences. At first, I assumed it was a casual conversation. Then she finally explained why she was there. What she said changed everything. "I own a chain of beauty academies across Nigeria." I blinked. "Beauty academies. Plural." She continued. "We are opening 3 new branches next year." My heart began beating faster. "And?" The woman smiled. "We are looking for leadership candidates." I felt my stomach drop. Leadership. Me? I don't understand. The director leaned forward. "Mrs. Okafor believes you have management potential." For several seconds, I could not speak. The idea sounded absurd. 6 years earlier I had been sleeping on a corridor floor. Now someone was discussing leadership positions. It felt impossible. Yet the conversation continued. By the end of the meeting, Mrs. Okafor offered me something unbelievable. A management development program. Full training. Leadership mentorship. A pathway toward eventually managing one of their academies. The opportunity felt bigger than the first job offer. Much bigger. And far more terrifying. That evening, I walked home in a daze. The future seemed to be opening wider than I had ever imagined. But when I reached the compound, I discovered a problem waiting for me. A black SUV was parked outside. Expensive. Very expensive. I frowned. Nobody in our neighborhood owned a vehicle like that. As I entered the compound, I noticed everyone gathered outside. Papa B. Mama B. Bintu. Several neighbors. The atmosphere felt strange. Almost tense. The moment they saw me, all conversation stopped. My stomach tightened. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Then I saw him. A man sitting beneath the mango tree. Perhaps 60 years old. Well-dressed. Gray-haired. Wealthy. The moment our eyes met, his expression changed. Shock. Pure shock. As though he had seen a ghost. I had never seen him before. Yet something about his face felt strangely familiar. The man slowly stood. His hands trembled. His eyes never left mine. Then he whispered something that made the entire compound fall silent. My God. The stranger took another step forward. It really is her. Confusion swept through me. I looked toward Papa B. Toward Mama B. Toward Bintu. Nobody spoke. Nobody explained. The silence became unbearable. Finally, I asked the obvious question. Who is this? The man's eyes filled with tears. Actual tears. Then he said words that completely shattered my understanding of everything. I am your father. The word stopped. The air vanished from my lungs. For a moment, I genuinely believed I had misheard him. My father. Slowly, I turned toward Papa B. The man who had raised me. The man I called father. The man who looked just as stunned as I felt. What is he talking about? Nobody answered immediately. Then Mama B covered her face and began crying. My heart started racing. No. The word escaped automatically. No. The stranger stepped forward. I know this is difficult. I backed away immediately. No. My voice grew louder. No. Years of emotion exploded inside me. Fear. Confusion. Anger. Disbelief. The stranger stopped moving. Pain crossed his face. But I didn't care. I wanted answers. Immediately. What is happening? My voice shook. What is he talking about? Finally, Papa B stood. The old man looked exhausted. Older than ever. His eyes filled with sorrow. Then he spoke. And every word changed my life forever. When you arrived here at 14. His voice broke. We didn't tell you everything. The ground seemed to disappear beneath me. I stared at him. Unable to move. Unable to breathe. Papa B continued. Your mother worked for a wealthy family many years ago. My heartbeat thundered. The family had a daughter. The stranger lowered his head. The daughter became pregnant. The compound remained silent. Nobody dared interrupt. The pregnancy became a scandal. My pulse quickened. The stranger's hands shook visibly. After the baby was born, Papa B swallowed hard. The family wanted the child hidden. A horrible feeling spread through my chest. No. 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 The old man continued. Your mother agreed to help. Mama B burst into fresh tears. And suddenly, everything started making sense. The missing pieces. The unanswered questions. The inconsistencies. The secrets. The stranger looked directly at me. I searched for you for years. I couldn't speak. My family convinced me you had died. Tears rolled down his face. But recently I discovered the truth. My legs felt weak. The world spun around me. Everything I believed about myself suddenly felt uncertain. Everything. Then the stranger said one final sentence. A sentence that transformed shock into something even bigger. Something dangerous. Something life-changing. You were never abandoned because you weren't wanted. The compound became completely silent. You were taken because someone wanted your inheritance. Inheritance. The word echoed through my mind. Inheritance. The stranger reached into his briefcase. Slowly. Carefully. Then he removed several documents. Legal documents. Official documents. He placed them on the table. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Finally, he looked directly at me. His voice barely above a whisper. Binta. I stared at him. You own part of one of the largest beauty companies in Nigeria. The entire compound froze. And in that moment, I realized my story wasn't ending. It was beginning all over again. Because somewhere out there, someone had stolen my past. And now that the truth was finally coming out, they would do anything to keep it buried. The words hit me like a thunderbolt. You own part of one of the largest beauty companies in Nigeria. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Even the neighbors standing outside the compound seemed frozen. I stared at the documents lying on the table. Then at the stranger. Then at Papa B. My mind refused to process what I was hearing. Inheritance. Company ownership. Wealth. None of it made sense. I had spent years counting every naira. Years wondering if I would ever have enough money to build a future. And now this man was claiming that my future had been stolen before I was old enough to understand what theft even meant. Finally, I found my voice. Who are you? The stranger swallowed. My name is Chief Adewale. The name seemed to affect several neighbors immediately. Whispers spread through the crowd. I didn't understand why. But clearly they did. Chief Adewale looked at me with eyes full of regret. I am your biological father. The words felt strange. Foreign. Uncomfortable. Because no matter what the truth was, the man sitting before me was still a stranger. Papa B was the one who had taught me how to ride a bicycle. Papa B was the one who stayed awake when I was sick. Papa B was the one who had finally stood up for me. Blood alone could not erase that. Chief Adewale seemed to understand my hesitation. I know you don't trust me. You are right. The honesty surprised him. But he nodded. You have every reason not to. Then he pushed a file toward me. Read this. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside were photographs. Old photographs. Very old photographs. A beautiful young woman holding a baby. The baby looked less than a year old. I turned another page. Another photograph. The same woman. The same baby. Then another. And another. Until finally I noticed something. The baby had my eyes. My exact eyes. My heart began pounding. Who is she? Chief Adewale's expression darkened. Your mother. The air seemed to leave my lungs. For years I had imagined my mother. Wondered about her. Dreamed about her. Now I was looking at her face. And somehow she looked familiar. Not because I remembered her. Because I looked like her. A lot. Tears gathered in my eyes before I could stop them. What happened to her? The silence that followed terrified me. Chief Adewale looked away. For several seconds he said nothing. Then he answered. She died. My chest tightened instantly. How? The man's jaw clenched. A dangerous look crossed his face. The kind of look people get when remembering something painful. Officially. His voice became cold. An accident. Officially. The word immediately caught my attention. Officially. Which meant there was another version. Another truth. And judging by his expression, it was far darker. What do you mean officially? Before he could answer, another voice interrupted. Don't tell her. Everyone turned. Mama B. She had been crying quietly. Now she stood. Terrified. Absolutely terrified. For the first time in my life, I saw genuine fear in her eyes. Not anger. Not frustration. Fear. Chief Adewale looked directly at her. We've hidden enough. No. Her voice shook. Leave the past alone. My heartbeat quickened. Because suddenly it felt like everyone knew something except me. What past? Nobody answered immediately. I slammed my hand against the table. What past? The compound fell silent. Chief Adewale slowly stood. Then he said something that made every hair on my body stand up. Your mother didn't die by accident. A gasp escaped several people. Including Bintu. Papa B closed his eyes. As if he had hoped this moment would never come. My heart hammered against my ribs. What are you saying? Chief Adewale looked toward the road outside. then toward the black SUV. Then back at me. As though checking whether anyone was listening. Finally he spoke. The week before her death. He paused. She changed her will. My stomach tightened. Will. Inheritance. The puzzle pieces were beginning to form. And I wasn't sure I liked the picture. Chief Adewale continued. She transferred her shares. The compound remained silent. To you. My mouth went dry. Me? Yes. His eyes hardened. And 3 days later she was dead. The words landed like a bomb. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Even the wind seemed to stop. Then another realization hit me. A terrifying realization. If the shares belonged to me. I struggled to finish the sentence. Chief Adewale nodded slowly. Someone stood to lose a fortune. The world suddenly felt much darker than before. This wasn't about family anymore. This wasn't about finding my biological father. This was about money. Power. Greed. The kinds of things that destroy lives. Then Chief Adewale said something that chilled me to my core. The people who took everything thought you were gone forever. A knot formed in my stomach. What people? Before he could answer, the sound of screeching tires echoed outside the compound. Everyone turned. A second vehicle had arrived. This one even more expensive than the first. The gate opened. 3 men stepped out. Dark suits. Serious faces. No smiles. No greetings. The atmosphere changed instantly. Chief Adewale's face turned pale. For the first time since his arrival. He looked afraid. Very afraid. One of the men walked forward. Slowly. Confidently. Dangerously. Then he spoke. We've been looking for you. His eyes locked onto me. Not Chief Adewale. Me. A chill ran down my spine. The man reached into his jacket and pulled out a document. Then he smiled. A smile that contained absolutely no warmth. Miss Binta. My heart pounded. We need to discuss your inheritance. And something about the way he said those words made me realize one terrifying truth. They weren't here to help me claim it. They were here to make sure I never did. For a few seconds, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The compound felt frozen in time. The 3 men stood near the gate. Calm. Confident. Dangerously calm. The leader adjusted his suit and smiled again. That smile bothered me. It wasn't friendly. It wasn't respectful. It was the kind of smile people wear when they already believe they've won. Chief Adewale stepped forward immediately, positioning himself between the men and me. What are you doing here? The leader's smile widened. Business. Leave. The response came instantly. Firm. Sharp. The suited man laughed softly. I'm afraid we can't do that. Something about his tone made my stomach tighten. He wasn't asking permission. He wasn't negotiating. He was informing us. Papa B slowly rose from his chair. Despite his recent illness, he stood protectively. Binta is not going anywhere. The leader glanced at him briefly. Then dismissed him completely. As though he wasn't important. His attention returned to me. Miss Binta. My pulse quickened. We have information that belongs to you. I remained silent. Years of surviving difficult situations had taught me something important. Sometimes silence reveals more than questions. The man reached into his briefcase. Then carefully removed several documents. He placed them on the table. One by one. Property records. Company records. Photographs. Legal documents. The sight alone made my head spin. There are matters concerning your mother's estate. The word estate sounded enormous. Unreal. My entire life had been built around scarcity. Now strangers were talking about estates. Fortunes. Companies. None of it felt real. Chief Adewale's voice became cold. You don't represent her interest. The suited man shrugged. That depends on perspective. A dangerous answer. Very dangerous. For the first time, I noticed something else. The other two men weren't speaking. They were watching. Watching everything. Watching everyone. Their eyes constantly scanned the compound. The neighbors. The gate. The road. Almost as if they expected trouble. Or were preparing for it. My instincts immediately screamed that something was wrong. Very wrong. Then the leader looked directly at me. And said something unexpected. Do you know why it took us so long to find you? The question caught me off guard. I shook my head. He smiled. Because someone made sure your records disappeared. The compound became silent. I felt my heart pounding. What records? Birth records. My chest tightened. School records. Another pause. Medical records. A chill crawled down my spine. For years, I had accepted the gaps in my past. The missing information. The unanswered questions. Now suddenly they weren't accidents. Someone had erased them. Intentionally. The realization was terrifying. Chief Adewale looked furious. Enough. But the suited man wasn't finished. He opened another folder. Then slowly slid a photograph across the table. The moment I saw it, my blood ran cold. It was a photograph of me. A recent photograph. Very recent. Maybe 2 months old. I stared at it. Confused. Then another. And another. And another. Different locations. Different days. The salon. The market. The training center. The hospital. My stomach dropped. Someone had been watching me. Watching me for months. Possibly years. A wave of fear swept through the compound. Even Mama B looked horrified. Why do you have this? I whispered. The suited man didn't answer immediately. Instead, he leaned back. Completely relaxed. Then he said something that made everyone uncomfortable. Because once we realized you were alive. He paused. We needed to know what kind of threat you were. Threat. The word echoed through my mind. Threat. I had spent most of my life trying to survive. How could I possibly be a threat? Then I remembered. The inheritance. The company. The shares. The money. Someone had something to lose. And apparently a lot to lose. Chief Adewale slammed his hand onto the table. Get out. The leader didn't move. Instead, he smiled. Again. That horrible smile. Then he looked directly at me. Do you know who currently controls your mother's shares? I shook my head slowly. The man pointed toward the documents. A man named Victor Lawson. The name meant nothing to me. But the reaction around me said everything. Chief Adewale's jaw tightened. Papa B frowned. Mama B looked away. The suited man noticed. And smiled. Interesting. His eyes settled on Mama B. You remember him, don't you? The entire compound froze. My heartbeat accelerated. Slowly. Very slowly. I turned toward Mama B. She looked terrified. More terrified than before. And suddenly, I knew. She knew something. Something important. Something she had hidden for years. Mama. She didn't answer. Mama. Still nothing. The suited man folded his arms. Then delivered the sentence that shattered the remaining pieces of silence. Tell her. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Tell her who delivered her to your house. The words seemed to stop. I stared at Mama B. Completely confused. What does he mean? Her eyes filled with tears. The suited man continued. Tell her who paid you. Paid. The word struck like lightning. Paid. Mama B immediately shook her head. No. Her voice trembled. No. The suited man wasn't finished. Tell her about the envelope. My pulse thundered. Envelope. What envelope? The compound remained silent. Then suddenly Mama B broke. Completely. She collapsed into a chair and covered her face. Sobbing. Real sobbing. The kind that comes from carrying guilt for too long. The kind that cannot be hidden anymore. Bintu rushed toward her. Mama. But Mama B couldn't stop crying. Years of secrets were finally catching up. And everyone could see it. Finally, through her tears, she whispered the words. The words that changed everything. I didn't know. The compound fell silent. I swear I didn't know. Her shoulders shook violently. I thought I was helping. My heart pounded. Helping who? Helping with what? Chief Adewale looked devastated. As though he had feared this answer. Then Mama B lifted her head. Tears streaming down her face. And finally revealed the truth. 20 years ago. A wealthy businessman had arrived at her village. A powerful man. Connected. Respected. Feared. He told her that a child needed protection. He claimed dangerous relatives were trying to seize family assets. He claimed the baby would be safer hidden away. He offered money. Not a fortune. Just enough to convince a struggling family. Enough to sound believable. Enough to seem harmless. So she agreed. The compound became deathly quiet. My hands trembled. Because I already knew what was coming next. The wealthy businessman. The one who arranged everything. The one who moved me. The one who paid for my disappearance. The one who benefited from my absence. There was only one question left. Who was he? The suited man slowly opened another folder. Then removed a photograph. An old photograph. He placed it carefully on the table. Everyone stared. My breath caught instantly. Because the face in the photograph looked familiar. Very familiar. Not from my memories. From somewhere else. Somewhere recent. Then it hit me. The company website. The articles. The business magazines displayed in the training center. My heart nearly stopped. Because the man in the photograph wasn't dead. He wasn't missing. He wasn't forgotten. He was currently one of the richest businessmen in Nigeria. And according to the documents on the table, he was also the man who had stolen my future. The suited man looked directly at me. Then quietly said the name. And the moment I heard it, I realized that exposing him could make me rich. But it could also make me disappear. Just like my mother. The name echoed through the compound. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Even the neighbors who had been secretly listening seemed frozen. My hands trembled as I stared at the photograph. The smiling businessman looked powerful. Respected. The kind of man whose face appeared on television. The kind of man people applauded at conferences. The kind of man newspapers described as a success story. Yet according to the documents lying on the table, he had spent 20 years benefiting from a lie. A lie that had stolen my identity. My inheritance. My future. My heart pounded so loudly I could barely hear anything else. Finally, I looked up. "Are you sure?" The suited man nodded. "Very sure." Chief Adewale looked exhausted. As if carrying this truth had weighed on him for years. "I spent a decade trying to prove it," he said quietly. "A decade?" The words hung heavily in the air. 10 years. 10 years of searching. 10 years of questions. 10 years of dead ends. And now the truth was finally sitting in front of us. But something still didn't make sense. I looked toward Chief Adewale. "If you knew all this." My voice shook. "Why didn't you come sooner?" Pain flashed across his face. Real pain. The kind that comes from regret. Because every lead disappeared. He swallowed hard. People changed their stories. Records vanished. Witnesses became afraid. The suited man nodded. Some even disappeared. A chill ran down my spine. Disappeared. The word carried frightening possibilities. For the first time, the situation felt larger than money. Much larger. This wasn't just a family secret. It wasn't just a stolen inheritance. It was a network of lies powerful enough to survive for 2 decades. Then suddenly, another question entered my mind. One that terrified me. Why now? Everyone turned toward me. I looked directly at the suited man. Why reveal everything now? His expression changed immediately. The confidence vanished. The smile disappeared. For the first time since arriving, he looked serious. Very serious. Then he answered. "Because someone else found out." My stomach tightened. "Someone else? What do you mean?" The suited man opened another folder. Inside was a newspaper clipping. A recent one. He slid it across the table. I picked it up. The headline made my blood run cold. "Business Empire Faces Internal Power Struggle." I frowned. I didn't understand. Then I noticed the photograph beneath the headline. The same businessman. The same man connected to my disappearance. The suited man pointed toward the article. His enemies discovered the truth. My heartbeat accelerated. And now they want proof. Suddenly everything became clear. This wasn't happening because someone wanted justice. It was happening because powerful people were fighting each other. The truth had become a weapon. A dangerous weapon. And somehow, I was standing in the middle of the battlefield. The realization terrified me. Chief Adewale seemed to reach the same conclusion. His face darkened. "You used her." The suited man didn't deny it. Instead, he sighed. "We all use what we have." The answer made my skin crawl. For the first time, I realized something important. Nobody at that table was completely innocent. Not the businessman. Not the lawyers. Not the investors. Maybe not even Chief Adewale. Everyone wanted something. Money. Power. Control. Revenge. The only difference was that I had never asked to be part of any of it. Then my phone suddenly vibrated. The sound startled everyone. I frowned. Unknown number. A message. Slowly, I opened it. The moment I read the words, my blood turned to ice. "Stop asking questions if you want your family to stay safe." The entire compound disappeared around me. I stared at the screen. Again. And again. Hoping I had misunderstood. But the message remained unchanged. A threat. Direct. Clear. Terrifying. My hands began shaking. Chief Adewale noticed immediately. "What is it?" I couldn't speak. Instead, I handed him the phone. The moment he read the message, his face hardened. The suited man grabbed the phone next. His expression darkened too. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then Papa B asked quietly, "What happened?" Chief Adewale looked up. His voice was low. Dangerously low. "They found her." The word sent a wave of fear through the compound. Because everyone understood what they meant. Whoever had stolen my future now knew where I was. And they were watching. Again. Just like before. The realization made my chest tighten. I thought about the photographs. The surveillance. The months of observation. And suddenly, I felt exposed. Vulnerable. Unsafe. Bintu moved closer to me. Fear visible on her face. "Mama." Mama B grabbed her hand immediately. The family looked frightened. Genuinely frightened. And that frightened me even more. Because if people who had survived decades of hardship were scared, then the danger was real. Very real. That night, nobody slept. The documents remained spread across the table. The threat remained on my phone. And fear remained inside every room of the house. Around 2 in the morning, while everyone sat awake discussing what to do next, another vehicle entered the street. Headlights swept across the compound walls. Everyone froze. The vehicle stopped directly outside the gate. Silence. Then a knock. One knock. Slow. Deliberate. Not loud. Not urgent. Just confident. As though the visitor already knew the door would open. Nobody moved. The knock came again. Papa B slowly stood. Chief Adewale stepped forward. The suited men exchanged nervous glances. Even they looked uneasy now. Finally, the third knock echoed through the night. And then a voice called from outside. A woman's voice. Calm. Clear. Unexpected. "Binta." My heart nearly stopped. I had never heard that voice before. Yet somehow, it sounded familiar. Impossible. But familiar. The woman spoke again. This time her voice carried something that made every hair on my body stand up. "I knew your mother." The entire compound fell silent. My pulse thundered. Who was she? How did she know my mother? And more importantly, how had she found me? Then came the sentence that changed everything once again. The sentence that made even Chief Adewale go pale. The woman said, "Your mother left something behind before she died." A long pause followed. Then, "And I have it."